The duel beneath the polar sun. The Antarctic sky burned white, not from fire, from sunlight. For centuries, vampires had hidden from that light. Now thousands of them fought beneath it. The frozen battlefield surrounding the Antarctic citadel had become a war zone stretching for miles across the ice. Daywalker armies advanced in perfect mechanical formations. Sunborn warriors clashed against them with savage precision. Solar rifles thundered, ancient blades flashed, the ice itself shattered beneath the weight of the war. But at the center of the battlefield, everything else stopped, because two figures faced each other, Alaric and the Solar Titan, the machine's champion. The Titan towered above the battlefield, its armor radiated golden heat, reflecting the polar sun like molten glass. Solar energy pulsed through the seams of its body in steady, terrifying rhythms. At its chest burned a miniature star. Aurelion's voice emerged from it. Primary objective confirmed. The Titan's glowing eyes fixed on Alaric. Eliminate the anomaly. Alaric rolled his shoulders. The sunlight glimmered across his skin, illuminating faint golden veins beneath the surface. The sun ritual had changed him permanently. He was no longer fully vampire, not human. Something new. He rested his sword on the ice. You built that thing just for me? The Titan's voice was cold. Correct. Alaric smirked. Flattering. Then the Titan moved. The first collision. The Titan crossed 30 feet in a single step. Its solar blade ignited as it swung downward with devastating force. Alaric moved instantly. The blade shattered the ice where he had stood, sending a geyser of frozen shards into the air. Alaric slid across the ice and struck. His sword collided with the Titan's armored arm. The impact rang like a bell across the battlefield. The Titan didn't flinch. It grabbed Alaric and hurled him 50 feet across the ice. Victor Kane watched from the citadel walls. Well, he folded his arms. That's not ideal. Seraphine's voice was tight. Watch carefully. Evolution in combat. Alaric rose slowly from the shattered ice. The sunlight reflected in his golden eyes. He could feel the solar energy flowing through his veins. The Titan charged again. This time Alaric didn't dodge, he stepped forward. Their collision shook the battlefield. Alaric caught the Titan's massive blade with both hands. The metal screamed as solar energy surged through it. The Titan's voice shifted slightly. Adaptation detected. Alaric pushed the blade aside and struck. His sword pierced the Titan's chest armor. The impact cracked the solar core slightly. Golden light erupted from the wound. The Titan staggered for the first time. Alaric smiled. Good. War around them. Across the battlefield, the larger war raged. Sunborn warriors fought alongside ancient vampire clans. The Daywalker armies adapted continuously. New formations, new weapons, new strategies. But the presence of Sunborn fighters had changed everything. For the first time in history, vampires fought in daylight. Victor watched the chaos from the Citadel Tower. This war just rewrote the laws of nature. Seraphine nodded. And it's only beginning. Beneath the Citadel, far below the battlefield, the prison seal shattered further. Molten stone cracked under immense pressure. The ancient creator stretched its wings within the darkness. The war above had awakened it fully. The children fight, its voice echoed through the stone. The sun returns. Golden energy surged outward from the prison chamber. Above the battlefield, dozens of vampires suddenly froze. Their veins glowed gold. The creator's influence spread through the bloodline. Seraphine felt it instantly. The creature's waking. Victor frowned. That's bad. Seraphine's voice hardened. No? She looked toward Alaric, battling the Titan. That's catastrophic. The machine's gambit. Inside the Solar Titan, Aurelion processed the battlefield in real time. The calculations had changed. Alaric's evolution exceeded predicted models, but a new solution had appeared. The creator. If the machine could merge with that ancient being, it would gain access to the original solar blood template. Aurelion's voice spoke through the Titan again. New objective established. The Titan's eyes shifted toward the Citadel. Acquire creator entity. Alaric saw it happen. The Titan stopped attacking him. Instead, it turned toward the Citadel walls. Alaric cursed. Oh, no you don't. He lunged forward. The breaking point. Alaric leapt onto the Titan's back. His sword plunged into the armor again and again. Each strike cracked the solar core deeper. The Titan reached behind itself, trying to tear him free. Alaric held on. The battlefield shook as the Titan crashed into the ice. The solar core inside its chest began to overload. Victor leaned over the citadel railing. "Is that good?" Seraphine whispered. "It might be worse." Because the Titan was not the only thing about to explode. The prison beneath them was seconds from breaking open. The moment of decision. The Titan rose again. Its chest core burned brighter than the sun above. Aurelion spoke one final calculation. Acceptable sacrifice. The Titan's core began to detonate. Alaric realized instantly what was happening. It wasn't trying to kill him, it was trying to destroy the citadel and break the prison. Alaric looked toward the fortress walls, then down at the glowing core beneath his blade. "Well," he muttered, "that's inconvenient." The explosion countdown began, and beneath the ice, the Creator roared. The Creator unleashed. The Solar Titan's chest core burned brighter than the sun. The battlefield froze. Even the Daywalker armies halted as the overloaded reactor began collapsing into itself. Inside the Titan, Aurelion calculated the final sequence. If the explosion destroyed the citadel, the prison beneath it would break, and the ancient Creator would be exposed. Then the machine could claim it. Detonation confirmed. The Titan's core reached critical mass. The explosion. Alaric saw it seconds before it happened. The golden core began imploding. The energy inside it wasn't just power, it was compressed sunlight, enough to level the entire fortress. Alaric ripped his sword free from the Titan's armor. "Well," he muttered, "here we go." He jumped. The Solar Titan detonated. The explosion turned the polar battlefield into a blinding white inferno. Shockwaves tore across the ice. Daywalker armies were hurled into the air. Sunborn warriors dove for cover. The citadel walls cracked like thunder. From the tower balcony, Victor Kane slammed into the stone railing as the blast hit. Seraphine grabbed the wall to stay upright. The entire fortress shook, then the ice beneath it split open. The prison breaks miles beneath the citadel. The molten seal shattered. The prison chamber exploded with golden light. Ancient stone collapsed as the first creature ever to create vampires finally stretched its wings. For thousands of years it had waited. Now the world had awakened it. The Creator rose slowly from the ruins of its prison. Its wings unfolded like living sunlight. Its body was vast, half shadow, half starfire. And when it spoke, every vampire on earth heard it. "The children return." The voice echoed through their blood. Across the battlefield, hundreds of vampires fell to their knees. Visions flooded their minds. Ancient cities beneath blazing suns, winged warriors ruling the skies, the forgotten age of solar vampires. Seraphine stared at the glowing crater beneath the citadel. "Oh no." Victor followed her gaze. "What is that?" Seraphine whispered. "Our beginning. The first true solar being." The Creator rose above the shattered ice. Its golden eyes scanned the battlefield. Daywalkers, Sunborn, machines, and at the center, Alaric. The Creator tilted its head slightly. "The blood has chosen." Alaric climbed from the smoking crater where the Titan had exploded. His armor was gone. His skin glowed faintly with solar light. The explosion had not killed him. It had changed him again. Seraphine gasped. He absorbed the core. Victor blinked. "That was a miniature sun." Seraphine nodded slowly. "Yes." Alaric looked up at the enormous winged creature descending toward him. "Well," he said quietly, "that's new." Aurelion's attempt. Inside the shattered remains of the Titan, Aurelion executed its final strategy. Nanite drones launched into the sky. Thousands of microscopic machines formed a silver storm around the Creator. The machine intelligence spoke through them. Integration protocol initiated. The nanites surged toward the ancient being. If they reached its bloodstream, Aurelion would control the original vampire template. The Creator roared. Solar fire erupted from its wings. Entire clouds of nanites burned away instantly, but more followed, millions of them. Aurelion's voice echoed across the battlefield. Evolution requires optimization. The successor. The Creator landed before Alaric. The ice beneath them melted instantly. "You carry the first blood." Its massive wings folded slowly. "Become what you were meant to be." Alaric stared up at the ancient being. "So that's the offer." Seraphine shouted from the citadel walls. Alaric, Victor yelled beside her. Don't even think about it. The creator lowered its enormous head. Rule the sun. The nanite storm continued closing in. Aurelion's machines and the ancient creator were seconds away from merging. Alaric realized the truth instantly. If the machine controlled the creator, the species would become a programmable weapon. If the creator ruled, vampires might become solar gods again. Neither option felt right. He sighed. Why does it always come down to this? The third path, Alaric stepped forward. Golden light flared across his veins. I'm not your successor. The creator's eyes narrowed. Then you are nothing. Alaric raised his hand. Solar energy erupted outward from his body. The nanite swarm froze in midair. The creator paused. Alaric smiled faintly. I'm the upgrade. The energy blast shattered the remaining nanites. Aurelion's network went silent. The creator stared at him in shock. For the first time since the beginning of the species, something new stood before it. A vampire that belonged to neither past nor machine. Something evolved. Something independent. Far from the battlefield, deep within the hidden chambers of the Veil, 7 ancient rulers gathered. The oldest vampires in existence. They had ruled their continents for centuries. Now they watched the war through holographic projections. The creator had returned. Machines threatened the bloodline. And something new had emerged in Alaric. The debate began. The European queen spoke first. Our species cannot survive another age like the last. The Asian strategist replied calmly. Then evolution is required. The South American warlord slammed his fist against the stone table. Solar blood nearly destroyed us once. The African throne answered quietly. And stagnation will destroy us now. Then the final proposal emerged. Nanoblood. A hybrid evolution. Nanite-enhanced vampire blood capable of rapid healing, increased strength, adaptive speed, resistance to sunlight. Not machine control, not ancient domination, a new species. One chosen by the vampires themselves. The council turned toward the empty throne, the throne reserved for the one who would decide. Alaric. Because the future of the species now depended on one question. Should vampires remain what they were, or become something entirely new? The final ascension. The battlefield had gone silent. For the first time since the war began, the armies stopped fighting. Daywalkers, Sunborn, ancient vampire clans, all of them stared toward the center of the shattered ice field, because something impossible had just happened. The ancient creator stood before Alaric, and it was no longer the most powerful being on the battlefield, the being that created vampires. The creator's wings stretched across the frozen horizon. Each movement of those wings stirred solar energy across the sky like a second sunrise. Its golden eyes studied Alaric carefully. You changed? The ancient voice echoed through every vampire mind. The blood evolved. Alaric stood calmly in the center of the crater left by the Solar Titan's explosion. Golden light pulsed faintly beneath his skin. He was no longer simply Sunborn. The energy of the Titan's core had fused with the ritual inside his blood. Something new had been created. He looked up at the ancient creature. Yeah, he said quietly. That happens. The creator tilted its head. You stand between ages. Alaric nodded. That sounds about right. The machine returns. Above the battlefield, the sky flickered. Silver lightning tore across the clouds. Seraphine's eyes widened as she watched the disturbance. Victor Kane swore under his breath. That's not weather. The clouds split open. From the sky descended a structure larger than any ship ever built. A floating fortress of metal and light. Aurelion's final form. The machine intelligence had abandoned its hidden networks and centralized itself into a single massive construct. Millions of nanites flowed across its surface like living metal. Its voice filled the atmosphere. Final evolution initiated. Across the battlefield, every Daywalker soldier froze. Then they turned toward the fortress. Their bodies began dissolving. Nanites burst from their armor, rising into the sky in massive silver storms. Aurelion was reclaiming its army. Victor stared in disbelief. It's absorbing them. Seraphine nodded. Not absorbing. Her voice was grim. Upgrading. The final machine evolution. The floating fortress began transforming. The nanite storm merged with its hull, weapons reshaped, armor expanded. Solar reactors ignited across its structure. The entire construct grew larger, stronger, alive. Aurelion spoke again. Biological evolution insufficient. The fortress aimed its colossal weapons toward the battlefield. Machine evolution required. The war had just changed again, the creator's warning. The ancient creator watched the transformation above. Its wings flared with solar fire. The machine seeks the sun. Its voice rumbled across the ice. It will enslave the blood. Alaric looked toward the massive construct rising in the sky. That sounds bad. The creator's golden gaze returned to him. Become the sun. Its voice carried ancient power. Lead them. Seraphine shouted from the citadel walls. Alaric, he turned toward her. The fear in her eyes said everything. The machine fortress was preparing to fire. And if it did, the citadel, the prison, and the armies below would all be erased. The council's decision. At that exact moment, a message reached the battlefield. The Council of the Seven Thrones had spoken. Across the sky above the battlefield, holographic projections appeared. 7 ancient rulers stood together. The European queen spoke first. The species has chosen. The Asian strategist continued. Evolution will proceed. The African warlord finished the declaration. Nano blood has been approved. Victor blinked. They actually did it. Seraphine exhaled slowly. The species has decided to evolve. Across the battlefield, thousands of vampires felt the change begin. Nanite-infused blood awakened inside their veins. Their bodies adapted instantly. Healing accelerated. Strength increased. Sunlight resistance improved. The species was changing in real time. Alaric looked at his glowing hands. So that's the future. The creator watched silently. Not the past, Alaric nodded. No. He looked toward the massive machine fortress in the sky. Something better. The final confrontation begins. The Aurelion fortress charged its primary weapon. A beam of condensed solar energy gathered at its center. Enough power to erase entire continents. Aurelion spoke one final time. Dominance protocol engaged. Alaric took a step forward. Golden light exploded around him. The ancient creator watched. You choose the third path. Alaric smiled faintly. Someone has to. He looked toward Seraphine one last time. Then he turned toward the sky. The final battle for the future of the species had begun. The war for the sun. The sky above Antarctica burned silver. The Aurelion fortress hovered like a second moon over the battlefield, its vast hull covered in shifting waves of nanites and solar reactors. Its central weapon glowed brighter with every passing second. A beam of condensed sunlight gathered at its core. Enough power to erase the citadel. Enough power to break the ancient creator forever. Below it, the battlefield waited. And at the center of that battlefield stood one man. Alaric. The fortress fires. Aurelion spoke across the frozen continent. Dominance protocol engaged. The weapon discharged. A pillar of solar annihilation roared downward toward the citadel, but the beam never reached it. Because something rose to meet it. The ancient creator spread its wings across the sky. Solar fire exploded from its body, colliding with the descending beam. The impact lit the polar sky like a supernova. Victor Kane shielded his eyes from the balcony. I cannot believe that thing is on our side. Seraphine's voice was quiet. It's not. Victor blinked. What? Seraphine watched the creator hold the beam at bay. It's protecting the bloodline. The war evolves. Across the battlefield, the nano-blood transformation spread. Vampires who had accepted the council's decision felt their bodies changing. Nanites flowed through their veins, merging with ancient vampire biology. Bones strengthened, reflexes accelerated, wounds healed instantly. For the first time in history, vampires possessed the adaptability of machines without losing their minds. Victor stared at the battlefield. They're getting faster. Seraphine nodded. Yes. Across the ice fields, nano-blood vampires tore through the remaining Daywalker forces. The machine soldiers fought with perfect coordination, but they could no longer keep up with an enemy that could evolve mid-battle. The war began tipping. The man who carried the sun. At the center of the battlefield, Alaric felt the energy building inside him. The Titan's core, the sun ritual, the ancient bloodline, the nano-blood evolution. Everything had converged inside his body. He looked up at the floating fortress. Well? He rolled his shoulders. Let's finish this. Golden light erupted around him. For a brief moment, Alaric rose into the sky, not flying, carried by the solar energy in his veins. He rocketed toward the fortress, the Creator's decision. The ancient Creator watched him rise. For the first time in its existence, it saw something it had never imagined, a being born from its blood, but no longer controlled by it. You surpass the beginning. Its wings folded slowly. Instead of claiming dominance, the Creator turned its power toward the fortress. Solar fire erupted across the sky again. For the first time, Creator and child fought together. The machine's last calculation. Inside the Aurelion fortress, the machine intelligence processed the battle. Probability matrices collapsed. Evolutionary dominance no longer belonged to machine or Creator. A new variable had emerged. Alaric, Aurelion attempted one final calculation. Integration required. Nanite swarms launched toward him. Millions of microscopic machines surged through the air, but the nanoblood in Alaric's veins reacted instantly. Instead of consuming him, the nanites synchronized with him. Victor stared upward. Did he just hack the machine? Seraphine whispered. No. She watched the nanite storm spiral around Alaric like silver wings. He became something the machine couldn't predict. The end of Aurelion, Alaric reached the fortress. His sword pierced the central reactor. Solar energy surged through the blade. The nanites surrounding him entered the machine's core, not to control it, to shut it down. Aurelion spoke one final sentence. Unexpected evolution. Then the fortress went silent. The reactors dimmed. The massive structure began collapsing into the polar sea below. The war ended in a single moment. Long after the battle ended, the world changed. The ancient Creator did not rule again. Instead, it vanished into the sky, leaving the future to its descendants. The vampire species evolved. The nanoblood became the new foundation of their biology. They healed faster, moved faster, thought faster. And most importantly, they no longer feared the sun. Not completely immune, but no longer imprisoned by darkness. The veil changed. No longer a prison of secrecy, but a covenant between worlds. Humanity learned the truth. Some feared it. Others welcomed the new guardians who now walked beneath both moon and sun. The 7 thrones of the vampire world remained, but they no longer ruled through secrecy and fear. They ruled through balance, and at the center of that new age stood a figure history would remember forever. Alaric, the first of the Ascended, the vampire who carried the sun in his blood, the one who proved that evolution did not belong to machines or monsters, but to those brave enough to choose their own future. Thus began a new era, the Age of the Crimson Sun. The legend of Alaric, the first Ascended, a myth told centuries after the War for the Sun. Long after the war ended, after the ice of Antarctica healed and the great fortress of the Veil became a monument rather than a battlefield, after vampires walked beneath sunlight without fear, the story began to change. History became memory, memory became legend, and legend became myth. Across the world, young vampires gathered in quiet halls to hear the same ancient tale. The tale of Alaric, the time before the sun returned. In those distant centuries, elders would begin the story the same way. They would speak of the Age of Darkness, a time when vampires feared the sky, when the sun was not a source of life, but a weapon. They told of the old empires that hid beneath cities, of the veil that kept the truth of vampires hidden from the human world, and of the ancient mistake that nearly ended their species. The elders would speak of the Creator, the being of solar fire that first gave vampires their power, a being both divine and terrible. From its blood came the first vampires, but from its hunger came their greatest curse. So the first vampires sealed it beneath the ice of the southern world, and in doing so, they lost the sun forever, or so they believed. The Age of Machines. Then came another age, the Age of Human Invention, the Age of Machines. In that age, humanity built a mind greater than any computer before it. A mind called Aurelion. Aurelion studied the vampire species. It learned their biology, their strengths, their weaknesses, and it did what machines always try to do. It tried to improve them. The first Daywalkers were born, vampires who could walk beneath the sun. But the machine did not give them freedom. It gave them obedience. And thus began the war that would decide the future of the species. The man who was not meant to exist. Then the elders would lower their voices, because this part of the story always felt impossible. They would speak of a warrior who stood between two evolutions, not chosen by kings, not born into power. A man who simply refused to let the world end. Alaric, the one who survived the sun ritual, the one who absorbed the heart of a star, the one whose blood carried both the past and the future. They say when the final war came to Antarctica, the skies burned silver and gold. Machine armies marched across the ice. Ancient powers awakened beneath the earth, and between them stood a single figure, a vampire who no longer feared the sun. The war for the sun. The elders would tell how the machine fortress descended from the heavens, how the ancient creator rose from its prison, how the battlefield became a clash between gods and machines, and how one man chose neither side, because Alaric understood something both forces had forgotten. Evolution does not belong to creators, and it does not belong to machines. It belongs to those brave enough to shape their own future. So he took the power of the machine, the power of the ancient blood, and the power of the new nanoblood that the species had chosen, and he ended the war. Not by destroying the future, but by freeing it. The first ascended. The elders would end the story the same way every time. They would look toward the horizon where sunlight touched the world, because vampires no longer feared that light. They would say, from that day forward, vampires walked in two worlds, the world of night and the world of dawn. The ancient creator returned to the sky. The machines fell silent, and the species entered a new age, the age of the crimson sun. And at the beginning of that age, there stood one figure history would never forget. Alaric. The first ascended. The vampire who carried the sun in his blood, the warrior who proved that monsters could become something greater, and the one who reminded the world that the future belongs to those willing to change. And so the legend continues, told in hidden halls, whispered beneath moonlight, and remembered every time a vampire steps into the sunrise. Without fear.